Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar called Ask the Expert, Quantity Takeoffs and Estimation. We're really happy that you guys have joined us today. I know there's a lot of webinars going on this time of year, so we appreciate you taking the time to join us and learn more about quantity takeoffs and estimation. Our goal today is to share some methods, some tips, some tricks, and help you become more effective at your day-to-day workflows. My name is David Recker. I'll be your moderator for today's event. And before we begin, I'd like to review just a few housekeeping items that will help the webinar run a little bit more smoothly for everyone. So first, there's some tips to help you navigate through the webinar interface. You'll see that some things have changed if you've been on a webinar with us before. You may have even noticed when you joined that there was a poll that we asked you to take, and so once you click through there and submit, then that poll will disappear. We've got a couple of those happening throughout the webinar today just to get some more feedback from you, so we encourage you to participate in that way. So back to the interface. At the bottom of your screen, you're going to see icons representing multiple tools you can use. All the engagement tool panels are resizable and movable, so you're welcome to move them around to get the most out of your monitor space. And if you think you're not seeing everything, just maybe check to see if you've got a slide bar at the bottom of your interface, and you'll be able to move it over to the right or to the left. You can expand the slide area or maximize it to full screen by clicking on the arrows in the top right corner. If you've got any questions during the webcast, you can submit them through the Ask a Question engagement tool. I see a number of them have come in already. People are pre-asking questions, which is great. So we're going to try and answer them today after the presentation with the time that we've got allotted for our Q&A segment. And we've also added a couple of new features for you. So we've got a chat window. I see everybody saying hello to one another and making comments in there, which is excellent. Feel free to use that to connect with your peers in the industry. You can also ask each other questions and answer them in the chat, so great engagement there. But if you do want your question asked live, please be sure to post it in the Q&A chat, and we'll hope to get to that. And if you've got a feature suggestion, everybody's got suggestions of how to make Bluebeam products better. Feel free to post that suggestion to our product team. There's a light bulb icon that you can click to add a suggestion. And then finally, in the resources tool, you'll find some links to other resources, and we encourage you to check those out. A couple other notes. Top question that we get every webinar: is this being recorded? And the answer to that is yes. And the second most popular question is, will I get a copy? Also yes. It will be distributed to you in the days to come via email. This webinar is being streamed through your computer, so there's no dial-in number. For best audio quality, just make sure your computer speakers or headset are turned on and volume is up so you can hear the other presenters. Now, some networks cause the slides to advance more slowly than others. So log off of your VPN if you're connected. That's our recommendation. And also, if your slides are behind, pushing F5 on your keyboard will refresh your browser, or you refresh your browser in another way, and you will should have the slides catch up there. Then finally, at the bottom of your screen, in the Tools widget, you're going to see a Help button that looks like a question mark, and there's a lot of answers to common technical issues in there if you're running into any issues. So that all said, let's get into today's content and start by introducing today's presenters. Our LinkedIn profiles they can be found in the speaker bio panel, so you can click on those to see our credentials and work experience. And if you like to send a note to us on LinkedIn and connect. But I'll start by introducing myself. So for those of you that might have missed it at the start, my name again, David Recker. I've started my career in construction, then moved over to a consulting engineering firm to be part of the green building industry. And then since joining Bluebeam in 2015, I now manage a team of customer success managers in North America. And what they do is help design and construction companies achieve their desired outcomes with Bluebeam solutions. When not at work, I can be found camping with my family, playing hockey, or reading mystery novels. I am based in Canada, so if there are fellow Canadians on the call, please let us know in the chat who will win the Stanley Cup this year, and no judgment. So we will move over now to Ash Hansen. Ash has over 12 years of assisting customers in the AEC industry. Before joining Bluebeam in 2019, she worked with design and construction professionals in the audio video space to pair them with right solutions for their projects and support the process through implementation. Ash's favorite part of her role is being able to help people find ways to make their days go a little bit more smoothly. Outside of work, Ash loves to be a total nerd. She enjoys hiking, putting her detective skills to work at murder mystery parties and escape rooms. Plus, you can be sure to find her playing board games at the local brewery. So if you're in the Dallas area, use the chat to send her some of your favorite spots. And last but not least, we have Harry Potter, longtime educator and a lifetime wizard. Harry has been with Bluebeam since 2019 with a passion for learning and teaching. He spent many years teaching high school sciences before moving over to Bluebeam as a software trainer. In his current role, managing the training team, Harry is involved with content creation, onboarding new trainers, and delivering top-notch training to all manner of AECO customers. Harry's favorite tool is Batch Link because it feels like magic creating that many hyperlinks so quickly. In addition to helping customers get the most out of Bluebeam, he loves cooking, games of all types, and traveling. So with that, we are going to start with Ash, who's going to take us through an overview of quantity takeoffs and estimation, and then into a demo. So over to you, Ash.
Thanks, David. So the key first starting point to any Bluebeam workflow is going to be getting that set up right. So that's what I'm going to show you today. To start, I'll show you our end goal so you know where we're going to be headed, where Harry will take you. And then I'm going to take a step back. I'll open up the document that's kind of bare bones, and we'll go through setting a scale. We'll go through how to deal with scales that have multiple scales on the same page by using viewports. We'll also go through how to leverage standardization for efficiency by building out tools in a tool chest for repeat use, as well as additional metadata in custom columns, and all of that and how it can be saved to a profile. And with that, I'm going to jump in Revu and share my screen. Okay, so here is Revu, and this is the final takeoff that we're going to be using today. At a high level, we can see that many custom columns have been set using formulas in order to get weights of different products for our use. We also see a variety of different ductwork since this is an HVAC takeoff. We have rectangular ductwork here, different types for different sizes, also spiral and specialty ductwork. We also are leveraging count tools. We have some diffusers and different types of fans, and we'll go through how to set those up today. So closing out of our final state, I'm going to jump into a blank document that hasn't had its scale set yet. Now I can tell the scale hasn't been set in two different places. Over here, leveraging my thumbnails panel, I can see that scales have been set on some of my documents, but not on the one I have. If you don't see this on your version of Revu next to the thumbnails, there's this little labels button. You can click that and you can toggle the page scale on and off. The other place you can tell that this page has not been set to scale is in the lower right-hand corner, either of which are fine. Now, before we go through the process of setting the scale, I want to show you a trick that'll help you when snapping things to your PDF itself. If you go up to Tools and go down to Toolbars, I'm going to turn on my status bar. The reason I'm turning my status bar on at the very beginning is it's going to allow me to turn on a feature, this third one at the bottom, that's called Snap to Content. Anytime I click on my content, it's going to assure me that I'm snapping to the line that I want instead of clicking close on that PDF. Now that that's all done, we can set the scale in two different ways. I could select multiple pages over on my left-hand side over in the toolbar, right-click and hit Set Scale, or I can also leverage that piece down in the lower right-hand corner where it says Scale Not Set, click that and you'll see apply scale to pages pop up. Now here I can choose multiple pages, a page range. I'm going to stick to just this one for right now. And then I have two options here. I have an extensive list of common scales, including metric at the bottom, or I can go over to custom. If I don't have the scale listed in preset, but I know what it is, I can type it in here. I can also use calibrate. Calibrate is a great way to set a scale if you have a known dimension, but you don't know the actual scale for the page. It'll prompt you to choose 2 points and then type in the actual dimension, allowing Revu to do the work for you to do the calculations for the scale. So I'm going to go over to preset. Here we can also set a separate Y scale. This would come into play mainly with like civil drawings where the horizontal and vertical axis might be different. I can also choose precision. So I know that this page happens to be 1/8 of an inch equals 1 foot. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that. And I'm going to do this precision, which is really the rounding mechanic to 1. So it'll be 1 inch because that'll work for me, and hit apply scale. So we see that it indeed changed it down here. And because I chose a preset, we always recommend that you verify that. The reason being is, although it says the scale on the drawing, this is intended for a particular sheet size. If this page was printed to a sheet size that is larger or smaller and someone clicked the like scale to fit page, that could not be accurate. And since measurements are so important when doing takeoffs, we want to make sure that that's accurate by verifying it. We can go up to Tools, Measure, and hit Length. I'm going to just come in here, and because I have that snap to content, it'll help me out. I'm going to click this point, come over here. I see that it does show that 8 feet, so I know my page is correctly scaled. So I mentioned viewports. So if I have a page that's similar to this detail document where, yes, the page has been set and it suits the needs of most of these plans, but I have one detail on this plan detail document that is 1 inch equals 1 foot instead of this 1.5 inches equals 1 foot. So I'm going to use a viewport, which I can access over here in the measurements panel. I'm going to left click to expand that. I'm going to hit plus. And it's going to ask me to select a region. This is going to be the region that has a separate scale. So I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to go ahead and click and drag and release. And similar to the other scale dialog, I can set my scale. I know that it is going to be 1 inch to 1 foot. And I also have the option to type in a title, which I'll make detail 5. This comes in handy because if each of these details had a different scale, it would help me keep track. So now that I've set that, you can see it in 2 different places. It starts to populate this list of viewports over on the left, as well as turning it blue. Now in this blue dialog here, we see that it is listed as detail 5, like that label I listed, as well as 1 inch equals 1 foot. Now any measurement I take that's within this blue area will respect that viewport scale, and any measurement I take outside of that blue area will respect the page scale. So now that I've set my scale, we can jump back into our original sheet and start doing our takeoff. Now, at its very simple start, we can just go ahead and go Tools, Measure, and Length. I'm going to go ahead and click in on this duct, and you'll notice that my cursor can be moved in any direction. This might be good, but it might be bad in case I'm trying to do a straight line. If I want to make sure that I'm doing that straight line, if I hold down Shift, you'll see my cursor snaps to the closest 45-degree angle, ensuring that I am actually taking off the actual straight line that I want to take. So I'm going to go and click that other spot to make my takeoff. And I'm going to do one more, holding down Shift again and reaching to the other line. So that would get me started on a takeoff. However, the real power in estimations and Revu is going to be in building out those standardized tools and custom columns so that you can get additional information. So all of those custom columns live in the markups list. So if we go to the lower left-hand corner, you'll see an icon that is 3 dots and 3 lines. If I click on that, and I'll just pull this up here, you'll see that the markups that I've placed the information has been captured here. We have a handful of built-in columns here, such as the subject, which is a way you can group your markups for ease of filtering and sorting, as well as the page label, the comment, which is the actual measurements, author, date, etc. Now, I could just go ahead and do my estimation with these basic tools, but we want to take it to the next level by making it repeatable. One of the things that I'd like to show you first is the profile. Both custom columns and custom tools live in the profile, so I think it's the best place to start. The profile is really the look and feel of your layout, exposing any tools that are really useful for your individual needs. So we can find profiles in the upper left-hand corner. If I click on Review, go to Profiles, you'll see a list here. These first top 4 are built into the software. You can use them. And then I have one that I built out started for today's use. I'm going to jump over to Quantity Takeoff and look at how my interface changes. It's going to go ahead and have that markups list at the bottom. I'm going to pull it up so you can see it a little bit better. But you see that we have some additional built-in columns that have been shared here. If I built out custom columns, they would be added as well. Now, the reason this is important, as we can see right here in this length column, different from where we saw it in the original one, the length is going to have a total because it is a measurement style column. We also see area, volume, depth, etc. So we can change all of our columns down here. Over on the right-hand side, we notice that the measurement toolbar has been added for ease of use. And on the left-hand side, that measurement access panel has been pulled out. Now, what I want to do is show you how to set up some columns. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these markups, and we will start from scratch using that profile that I mentioned before. Now, anytime that you build your own profile, you can use the base of one of the ones built in and start from there. Now here, I cleared out a lot of the columns because in this particular takeoff, we have mostly custom columns that are relying on formulas and other metadata. So we're going to build out custom columns here. The first step is to go to Markups List, Columns, and go to Manage Columns. Now, this is the list of all of the built-in options you can choose from, but I'm going to go over to custom columns. And what we're going to do is make some tools that are going to be particular items such as diffusers and fans. And so I'm interested in a unit cost and the total cost of those units. So I'm going to go and hit Add and make a unit cost column. And there are different types of columns you can choose from: checkmark, choice, date, formula, number. We're going to choose number, and under format, I'm going to make it currency. It defaults to dollars, which is okay for me. And the next one I'm going to do is I'm going to actually make it total component cost. Now this total component cost is going to be a formula. You'll see that once I choose formula, I get an expression bar. Here, I can just start typing and it'll give me some prompts as to what I want. I mentioned I wanted a count, so I'm going to start typing count. It gives me this list. I just double click and it will add it to my expression. I want to multiply it by that custom column I just made, the unit cost. So I start typing, double click there. And right here again, under format, I'm going to say currency. I'm going to keep the rest and hit OK. Now, before I hit OK here, I want to take a moment to mention the Save to Profile. Now, custom columns can live in 2 different locations. You can have them on a document. That gets pushed when you place a markup and then save the document, or they can live on your profile. The nice thing about a profile custom column is that anytime I open a document, regardless of where I get it from, regardless of if it has the custom columns applied or not, I have access to those custom columns. And during my takeoff, it will push it to that document. So when I share it with other people, they will see those columns as well. So we're going to go ahead and save it to the profile. It says that it's going to push it to the PDF and use it for the template. We're going to hit OK and hit OK. Now we see indeed those custom columns have been added. So the next step of our process is going to be building out our tool chest. So the tool chest is over here. It's already expanded in this profile, but you can open it up and it's going to include a bunch of tool sets. Now each of these tool sets have a an assortment of different tools that have been customized with properties and metadata to help us with our takeoff. So here we see a bunch of polylength tools representing rectangular ducts of different sizes, and depending on those sizes, have additional information that will help calculate back to that weight that Harry will talk about later. So because I'm doing some count tools for those diffusers and fans, we're going to make a new tool set. The first step is to go ahead and click on that tool chest and go down to Manage Tool Sets. I'm going to go ahead and hit Add, and I'm going to call it Diffusers and Fans, and hit OK. It's going to go ahead and prompt me a place to save it. The standard default location is fine by me, but you can choose a different location if you want. And I'm going to select this and just go ahead and toggle this up so that it is at the top of my tool chest for you to see it easily. Going to hit OK, and now that I have my custom column and my tool chest set up, the next thing we want to do is build those markups. So I mentioned I wanted to use a count. I can either use it from this toolbar that I have here, or I can go up to Tools, Measure, and hit Count. I'm going to just place it on my drawing and escape out. So we see it has been added down here, and what I want to do is select it. It turns blue, and I'm going to change the properties to suit my needs. So when selected, the Properties panel comes up here, the Properties toolbar. It is dynamic, meaning depending on what type of markup I have selected, these options will change. With a count, I can go ahead and change the style. I want to change the opacity so it's not quite as bold, and I'm also going to change the size so it's a little bit smaller. Another thing I can change here are subject, label, and layer. I'm not going to change this here. I'm going to do that in the markups list because we have a couple other items we want to add. So in addition to changing custom column information here, all of these items can be found in the properties panel if you so wish. I think this is a little bit easier for our purposes, so we're going to do that down here in the markups list. So to change the subject, so I kind of group them together, I just double click and highlight, and I'm going to make this diffuser style 1, and I'm going to give it a unit cost. We're going to make this $27, and you see it go ahead and will multiply over into the total component cost. Since I've built out my first tool, I'm going to use that as the base of my other tools. I'm going to select that when it's highlighted. I'm going to hit Control C to copy it, click aside, hit Control V, and I get a second tool. Here I'm going to double click in, and I'm going to make this diffuser style 2. Now that I have diffuser style 2, I'm going to double click, and I'm going to change the price to $39. So I want to build out some fans. I'm going to click that first one, hit Control C, click out, Control V, and instead of just changing the price, I also want to go up to this properties toolbar here and change the look. I'll make it a triangle. I will come down here and I will take out diffuser, I will type fan, and I will change the price accordingly. We will make this one $34, and I'll make one more fan. I'll select that, Control C, click, Control V, and I will make this fan style 2. And I will change this price as well. Now that I have the tools that I want ready to go, all I have to do is click and drag to select them all, and I right click on one of them and I can go add to tool chest. Because I already took the time to set up my tool set, I can go ahead and choose that diffusers and fans, and it automatically adds them up here. Now, I just use this sheet as a way to build these out, so I can go ahead and delete those. And then as I place from here, I can just go ahead and do my takeoff. Now, although these symbols are here and when I hover, it will show me the subject information, it's a little bit more difficult to navigate. So if I go to the settings and click and choose detail, I can see that more grid option where it says subject, and if I had established a label, it would show there. Now, in order to have these for repeat use in the future and share with my team, I want to do a couple things to save. I'm going to go up to settings, go ahead and hit save. It's going to just save the work I've done to make sure it's fine. And lastly, go to review and profiles, and I'm going to go ahead and hit save profile. And if I want to share that profile with my team, I can go to manage profiles, click on the profile I want, and export. Before you export, you want to make sure you have that include dependencies. That'll pull in all of the custom column information and your tools so that there's a single file that your team will have to download to benefit from all of the work that you've put in today. Now that we've gone through a little bit of setup, I'm going to hand it back over to David to talk about those poll results.
Great. Thanks very much, Ash. I love the tool chest personally. I used it a lot in my previous role. And so for those of you out there, as Ash said, if you're working on a team, the tool chest is a great way for you guys to have consistency in your work and also be able to present a kind of a professional estimate, internally, but also to clients. So yeah, thanks again for going through that, Ash. Before we go over to Harry, we did have a poll that popped up at the beginning when you first came into the webinar. So we want to take a minute right now and look at the results of that poll. So the question we asked was, which Bluebeam Revu features you rely upon for your takeoff process? So you can see the results up here. We've got customized measurement tools at 83.8%, Legends 32%, Studio Sessions 15%, Custom Columns 18%. So Harry, you're up next. So I wanted to ask you, when you see these poll results, is there anything that surprises you, jumps out at you?
I think the use of custom columns only being less than 20%. These are really powerful tools that are going to help you leverage either your takeoffs in Revu or when you export out to something like Excel. So that's small. It just means that data is clearly a big deal when it comes to bids and takeoffs. So that's at least what sticks out to me.
Yeah, and I was struck by it. It's cool to see some people using Studio Sessions. That means that they're probably working I'm going to assume you're working in a team environment again, and maybe responsible for doing takeoffs of different things, but on the same drawing, or maybe you are back checking someone else's work. But good to see the use of Studio Sessions there. It's not something I think that's often used on the quantity takeoff workflow, but good to see that it's useful. So yeah, let's move on over to Harry. I'll let you take it from here, and you're going to get into some more examples building off of what Ash has presented.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to sort of take this to sort of the conclusion of the workflow. So we're going to come in here and we're going to show, I'm going to sort of take a deeper dive looking at those custom columns. As I mentioned, data, a big deal when we're talking about bids and takeoff. So we'll take a look at those custom columns in a little more detail, as well as sort of how we can leverage them. Then we're going to look at the impact of those. We're going to actually place some measurements on the drawing. We're going to take a look at some quick ways to do that. I can see from the questions here, a lot of you have some deep expertise in how to use them, so we're not going to go into too much in terms of how to place those tools. But then we're going to get into some more advanced items. So we're going to take a look at visual search, so some awesome ways to powerfully count items on your drawings. We'll take a look at legends. I've seen some questions pop up about legends in there, and clearly they're in the poll there are a ton of you using legends, so we'll take a look at how we can leverage that as well. And finally, how do we get this data that's in Revu, and how do we take it and use it elsewhere? There's some really powerful, very useful data here, and we can sort of use the data inside Revu, but it's really going to be taking it outside, putting it in a bid feature, Excel, super popular, that's going to be particularly valuable. So I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to basically take this from where Ash led off with us. So this is going to be the same drawing that Ash had, and we're going to sort of hit the ground running, taking a look at the markups list. So Ash talked about how we can build that out, how we can create those custom columns. And the custom columns here are really designed for two different uses. So we have some custom columns here that Ash showed setting up that provide a unit cost and a component cost, and effectively allow us to calculate, sorry about that. calculate with our measurements. Review is behaving a little incorrectly today. It's my mouse. Back on track. So we have our unit cost multiplied by the number of count items to create a total cost for physical units. But some of this other ductwork here is really being used and calculated with some of these more complex custom columns to calculate duct weight. And this requires columns that are going to have some rough calculations and some rough approximations, as well as multiplying by formulas to calculate the ultimate weight of custom-made ducts. Now, ultimately, you may not be involved in the HVAC world at all, but you're likely going to have various different processes that you're working with to calculate things. So it could be anywhere from calculating overage when you're looking at square footage of carpet. You could be factoring in labor. It could be factoring in waste of material when you're working with baseboards. Each of these is going to require different formulas and different calculations, and the markups list is going to allow us to do that. And if I take a peek in this markups list drop down under columns, we're going to see there are a ton of different custom columns in here. These were set up again to focus on custom HVAC items for different types of ducts and different calculations, with the end goal of calculating a total weight that we can then turn into a price. But the markups list is really going to allow us to build this out. And it's really powerful to build this out from the start so that you can use it over and over again on all the work you do in the future. And so if I scroll here to the right, we're going to see I have a ton of different custom columns. Not all are being leveraged right here on this drawing. So if I slide back here, you're going to see that I mostly have rectangular and flex ducts. But having all of those columns built out means that no matter what type of ductwork I'm calculating on the drawing, it's going to be calculated in that markups list. But let's pop in, let's take a look at placing some measurement tools and how we can use them and how they're going to sort of pop up and be leveraged in that markups list. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to sort of finish up placing another one of these duct items right here. This is going to be a 50 by 44 rectangular duct. And so I'm just going to click on this in my tool chest. And when I'm using my measurement tools in Revu, the nice thing is that a lot of the different measurement tools, be it the poly length, area, volume, a lot of them are going to operate in very similar ways. So all of them are going to have this, if you notice on my cursor, is a little blue box that's snapping to content. Just makes it a little bit easier for me to draw this. So to place this this length measurement, this is in this case the poly length. So if I wanted to measure sort of changes in this duct, I could. I'm just going to click, and then I'm going to place my click down here at the bottom to measure this. Little trick though, if I hold down my shift key, it's going to lock me into orthogonal directions. It's going to let me draw a nice clean straight line here, and then I'm going to click at the end. As we can see, it's going to prompt me to keep placing line segments, but this is a nice straight one, so I can just hit my enter key right here and end this. A little trick for you though, if you end up accidentally placing multiple line segments, you realize you don't need them. This could be calculating anything from ductwork to egress, and you realize, I didn't need that line segment. Little trick there, if you hit your backspace key, it will remove that line segment. So I'm just going to hit my enter key, and now we have this calculation right here. And we'll notice it pops up on my markups list. It's going to take this length that I drew on my drawing, and it's going to use the calculations, this approximation of gauge. It's going to take my square footage, multiplying and calculating with my height and my width to give me this duct weight. And again, we can keep using this as we're calculating and measuring different ductwork here to ultimately get a total weight of all of the ductwork that we had here to ultimately use to create the bid sheet at the end. And I'll showcase sort of that data and that export in just a little bit. So that is our sort of a quick length measurement tool there. But what if I want to count some items here? So Ash showed these diffusers. And what if I already have some counted here, but I realize I've missed a few right here. Now, if I want to continue a count measurement, it can be tempting to sort of just grab the tool from my tool chest, just keep using it. But the nice thing with a count measurement is it's one line item. So it keeps my markups list sort of nice and clean with one line item. So if you want to continue a count that you've already started, really easy. I can just right click on an existing item, and right towards the middle right here, excuse me, we have this resume count right here. So I can grab my resume count and we can continue that count from here. So I can just come in and I can click those items that I want. And if you keep an eye on this right here, when I am done with that, it updates my count and it updates my total cost accordingly. So that's all well and good. I had a couple quick items that I wanted to count right there. But what if I have something like these two different fan items on my drawing? And again, you may not be dealing with fans or ductwork, but we see this everywhere from electrical boxes to interior doors. Counting is a big deal in takeoffs. And if you're dealing with one sheet, that's one thing. But if you're dealing with an entire building, that can be hundreds or thousands of items. So how do we make this work a little bit more efficiently for us? The nice thing is we have a tool called Visual Search. Now, Visual Search is in here in this search panel. It's a little magnifying glass right over here. And some of you may have popped in here and seen that you can do a text-based search, which is awesome. But we can actually take it a step further with this Visual Search right here. So what Visual Search allows us to do is click on this Get Rectangle and allow us to sort of define what we're looking for. And then it's going to search everywhere in the defined location for us and be able to really nicely quick and efficient. So let's start with this fan type right over here. So as I mentioned, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my Get Rectangle, and it's going to turn my cursor into a little crosshair. So I'm just going to click and drag right here over that icon. We're going to see it gives me this this image here, sort of a preview of what I'm searching for. I can then define where I'm looking. So the default is going to be the current document. I'm going to stick to just this page right here because I know there's only these fans on this page. But if we wanted to look at an entire document or even an entire folder, we could do so right here. I then have some options for fine-tuning my search here, but we're just going to search and we're going to take a peek at this. And we're going to see it's searching here. We're going to see it found 3 items. And so what I can do nice, quickly, and easily is if I click on this Select All, and then I click on this My Options for this checkbox, I can come in and I can apply a count measurement to select. And you'll notice I can use sort of some of the default count measurements, but Ash already created these already set up for me, ready to go. So I already have these that I have some data associated with these that were created. So I can just click on this fan style 1 that I have, and we're going to see populates in my markups list with that count and the unit cost and the total cost already built out. So if I have the tools already set up, I can quickly and easily use Visual Search to count these items and create the calculations for me. Carrying through, I'm going to do that one more time for you. So again, I'm going to search the second fan type. So I'm going to go to Get Rectangle again. Again, I'm going to click and drag around that icon. We're going to search here as well. And again, it's going to search the parameters. It's going to find what we're looking for. And I can select all of these items and apply that fan style 2 right there. And we're going to see counts them for me, and it even counts ones I wasn't even looking at the time. Now, one thing I do like to note if you're doing the Visual Search, what can be most helpful is to ensure that You check anything that's done automatically in the software manually, and this is going to depend a little bit on the quality of the drawings you have. So the better the quality of the drawing, the more accurate the visual search is going to be. And it might require a little bit of fine tuning here, but it allows you to really quickly and easily count items very quickly across a wide range of drawings. It can save you a nice amount of time. So I have a number of lengths, counts, items here on my drawing, and I have my markups list built out. But as we saw in the poll, a lot of you are using legends, but it was still only about in the 30% of you. So what are legends and how can they help us? Well, legends are really a nice, quick visual way to see ongoing totals and data from your drawing. The markups list is awesome. It's powerful. It has a ton of data in here, but unfortunately, it can get a little convoluted, particularly if you have a lot of these built out custom columns like I have here. And if you notice, a lot of the measurements that I have here, they don't fill up every column. They just fill up a few certain ones. And so it'd be great if we had a nice visual way to see this on the drawing that would give us also rolling totals. And legends can do exactly that. So I'm going to come up here sort of a bit away from what else is on the drawing and create a legend and sort of show you how that works. Now, we have two different ways to create a legend on the drawing. We can either create a legend from individual tools. So I can right click on a particular tool and I can go to legend and I can create new legend. But the nice thing is if we have a tool set set up, it's actually even better to create them from a tool set. So if I click on this little gear icon next to a particular tool set, I can go down here to legend and I can go to this create new legend. Now click on create new legend and we're going to see it populates that for me and I can just place that on my drawing. So this legend, the nice thing with creating it from the tool set is it already gives me the name of it. It gives me the name from the tool set itself. And it gives me a description, a quantity, and what the unit of that particular item is. Now I could create two separate legends here. So I can create a new one with these rectangular ductwork if I wanted to have two different items. Or instead, I could add this to the existing legend. And I could have one built out legend here. And I can easily just delete that extra one that I don't need anymore because I have all of the data that I want in one legend. And if I were to come in and add more items, say for example, a few more diffusers here, and this is going to be sort of in the middle, but it updates that count there for me. And I might have multiple different line items in my markups list, but it gives me the nice total of all this right here in the legend. Now I can also change a lot of the properties of this legend as well. So I can come in here and I can change which page this is sourcing from. So the default will be just the current page, but I could have it grabbing data from the entire document here. I can come over, I can change the title here. So right now it's diffusers and fans, but I could call this instead HVAC Takeoff, and it's going to update that for me. I can pick which columns this is taking into account. So I could include, for example, the total rectangular duct weight. And I could see that for each of my rectangular ducts. Maybe I want to see the different types of rectangular ducts that I have here. So maybe I want to include label as well. So I can include that. And we're going to see, instead of just seeing the two different types of rectangular ducts I had, now it splits it out and shows me each different type of that rectangular ductwork. So I have a lot of flexibility in terms of how I am seeing the data in this legend. And again, this sort of gives me a nice visual indicator as I'm building this takeoff up, what that looks like. So the legend is one type of data output, but ultimately we want to use this to create a bid. So how do we take this information from our drawing and take it and put it in a place that's easy to calculate, take into account those costs, and ultimately create a bid sheet at the end? Well, in our markups list, right down here at the bottom here, we have this summary button. Now, we have 4 different types of summaries here. But the one we're going to focus on today is CSV summary. This is going to allow us to take our data, create an Excel file from there nicely, quickly, and easily. So I'm going to click on this CSV summary button right here. We're going to see it's going to pop open this summary dialog right here, and there's a lot of flexibility we have. So under columns, this allows us to pick which columns that we want included in our summary. And by default, it's going to have all of the columns that we currently have turned on. And I can toggle them on and off by clicking on that checkbox. I can also filter and sort certain things. So maybe I want to create a bid sheet of exclusively fan styles or just particular ductwork. I can sort of filter and sort items within there out. And then under output, I can choose how I want to name this. I can choose if I want to see just all of the markups, if I want to see just the totals of those, or markups and totals. And I have some customization options here as well. Now, the nice thing here in the markup summary is once I have if I find myself regularly doing certain bids, that's going to be really common. Is if you're working on, for example, this HVAC takeoff, it's going to be a pretty similar output every time. The calculation is going to be different, the plans are going to be different, but the outputs are going to be similar. What I can do is I can tweak the columns and the filtering that I like, tweak the naming of this, and I can create a configuration file. So I don't need to mess with this every time. Instead, I can just load a configuration like I've created here. It has all sorts of columns turned on and off and tweaked as I like. And I can hit OK. And it's going to spin up an Excel file for me. And I can then take this file that's going to get built out in Excel, and I can take the data. Let me just pull this over for you. But I can take that data, I can include some extra calculations, some price calculations using the weights and such like that, and I can output that there. One little trick in Excel before we finish up, if I want to quickly and easily sort of see all the data here, because right now it's a little shrunk. Oops, sorry about that. I highlight everything, double click there, and we can see all this information. I can see the counts, the cost of these particular items, and I can see the weights here that I can then create an ultimate calculation in Excel to create a total using calculations from both Revu and in Excel to ultimately create that finalized bid sheet that I can submit and hopefully win that project. So that was a quick crash course, but we hope that you were able to take away some really useful items here and some really awesome insights here as well. Now, before we finish up and get to some of your questions, I wanted to go over some resources that we have for you, particularly some training resources to help you build out your knowledge a little bit. So if you are a Revu 21 user, you have access to Bluebeam University. It's at university.bluebeam.com. You have access to that at no additional cost. And this includes both on-demand, self-paced training on everything from placing markups and using Studio to scales, calibration, and the takeoff process. We also just added live instructor-led training by my team. And so if you're looking for some hands-on training in terms of how to use Bluebeam, we encourage you to check out that live training there. We're always looking to build out and give you the resources you need. So please hop in there, take a peek, and let us know what you'd like to see additional training on. If instead you're looking at getting your team up to speed and you want something a little more customized or you want something specialized just for you, we have consulting and some paid training offerings as well. So if you are looking to improve your workflows, you want to streamline things, you want to change what you're doing, you know you could be a little more efficient, our consultants would love to assist you with that. And you can get some more information at bluebeam.com/consulting or reach out to us at consulting@bluebeam.com. Similarly, if you're looking for some training just for you and your team where you can sit down with us, maybe hands-on on Zoom or maybe even live and in person, you can reach out to us at bluebeam.com/training for some more information there as well. Now, before I hand it over to David, I did want to talk very quickly about a little help that we would like to get from you. Now, as a longtime trainer here at Bluebeam, I can personally attest how wonderful it is to engage with so many of you. We're proud of our passionate user community, and it's your feedback that fuels our innovation. Now, to take Bluebeam's takeoff and bid functionalities to the next level, we're really looking for input from you. If you frequently do what I just did here, taking your takeoffs in Revu and export them to Excel, we'd love to hear from you. Love to get in contact with us, share your challenges and ideas, and help shape the future of Bluebeam solutions. As a thank you, if you want to hop in and willing to talk with us, eligible participants will be the first to utilize these new offerings before they hit the market. If you're interested in contributing, we'd love to chat with you. Please submit your interest through the poll, and our team will be in touch with these new opportunities. With that, I'm going to hand it back over to David for some questions.
Excellent. Thank you, Harry, and thanks, Ash, as well for your content previously. Harry, you're right. It was a crash course. The chat was heating up. People were contributing there as well. So it was great to see so much engagement, and we know there's a lot that was covered today, and that's why I again want to reiterate that this webinar is recorded. You're going to get an email later on with that recording, so you can watch it again, pause at certain spots, and kind of review the content. So just wanted to reassure everyone there. We're going to move on to our live Q&A. Now, people started submitting questions even before the webinar began. So our team behind the scenes, thank you, team behind the scenes, has been furiously trying to answer all these questions to individuals. And there are so many, we're not going to be able to get to all of them today. So apologize for that. But we do have time here. We've got about 8 or 9 more minutes for this webinar. So we're going to go through some live Q&A right now. And I've got some questions lined up here on my other screen that I will just randomly ask either Harry or Ash to take. But Harry, since I see you on my screen still, we'll start with you. So we've got one question here. Is there a simple way of hiding the takeoff markups from the drawing without removing them? So it sounds like this person's, maybe placed a bunch of markups. They don't want them visible because they want to see a clean drawing for a bit, but they don't want to delete stuff.
Yeah, this is a great question, David, and one that does come up a bunch. So the nice thing is we do have a couple different ways to do that. So if I come down to my markups list, this little eye icon right here is going to allow me to hide all my markups. It's going to clear the markups out from my drawing. It's going to clear the markups out from my markups list, and it's going to hide them away. Another way that I can do that if I want to sort of just ignore certain items, I actually accidentally clicked this earlier in the webinar, but I have this filter list. Maybe I want to hide everything but a particular type of markup. Same thing. I can filter out everything but certain items. I can hide them all except for one item. So the markups list is going to be your lifeline looking to do that.
Great, Harry. And while you stopped sharing your screen, I was like, that's a great opportunity to answer another question here. But we had a couple of questions about measuring arcs or maybe irregular shapes. What's the best way to do that? And I'm picturing someone maybe measuring a curved line and clicking about 100 times along that semicircle. Are there easier ways to do that?
So there's a couple different ways, and let me pop back and we can show that. So I have this. I have some curves here as well. So we a couple different ways to do that. So if I want to just sort of measure the quick arc length here, up here in Tools and Measure. If we have a nice circle, we can use some of this 3-point radius tool. But if we have an arc that's not super great, we can use our poly length tool here, and we can basically adjust this and I can convert to arc here, and I can basically pop this out, and I can match that from there. That's one way. It's a little clunky, but it can get the job done in terms of measuring those arcs. Another way is going to be to use our dynamic fill tool. So this is a wonderful tool. I won't have time to get into all of the depth here, but it gives me the ability to fill in certain areas. Great for curves and arcs, where I can basically select the tools that I want. So including a poly length tool here, for example, and I can also include an area, but I can fill in a certain area, and I can get nice curved measurements from that for an area or a poly or a curved length there.
Excellent. Thanks, Harry. I was hoping you would mention dynamic fill. If people were like, hey, how did you do that? How'd you get that? Just Google dynamic fill Bluebeam, and and instructions will likely pop up on your browser. If you're hearing a weird noise in my background, it's my smoke alarm going off. But we will move on to another question. Harry, if you could just take this one. Is there a quick way to toggle between metric and imperial measurements?
Yeah, there is. If you select a measurement, or you can select multiple measurements, you can, at the top of your screen, there'll be a little units drop down in where the properties you can adjust. If you change the units to metric, you can toggle that there. So each individual measurement can be toggled individually, and you can swap between imperial and metric units on a markup by markup item, or you can select them all and swap them all that way.
Excellent. Thanks very much. We'll give you a break. We'll go over to Ash, and there was a question here. Not sure if this is actually possible myself, but it's a good question. Is there a good way to measure lengths that span multiple pages? So in this example, they've got maybe a receptacle that's connected to a panel that's a couple of pages over. What's the best way to measure that length? Do we have a quick solution for that?
Yeah, thanks, David. Thinking of it, I don't know anything off the top of my head in Revu that's available. I can, the way I would approach it is maybe make some different measurements. If this is something that you do repeatedly, you could leverage things like different tools that have like page A or page B as a subject line, and then a calculating column to kind of automatically add those two lengths together. But there isn't a way to stitch two pages together within the Revu platform. Harry, do you know of any kind of quick cheat on that one? I can't think of another way with Revu specifically.
Not off the top of my head, unfortunately. It's Revu can do many things. Functioning as a design software is sort of one that it's sort of not the best at, but I think the best would be to try to stitch drawings together and go from there if you have that.
Excellent. Thanks very much. So that's a good suggestion to take back to our product team, and hopefully we see some solutions for stitching in the future. I think we've got time for one more question. This is more of a practical one. Let's say you're taking a measurement with multiple points. Is there a way, if you've completed it but you wanted to restart it again? So I guess it's similar to the count tool, where you could right click on the count and restart the count. What if I've already got a polyline, for example? Can I restart measuring the polyline, or even an area measurement? What's the best way to handle that?
Harry, you want that one?
I can finish up with this one. Yeah, so you absolutely can continue a polyline. So if you right click on a polyline, there'll be an option to just continue that, and you'll be able to essentially continue it as if you were drawing it from scratch. And you can just keep placing those points and go from there.
Excellent. I think one of the tips that we show people a lot is just simply right-clicking on markups and right-clicking around the Bluebeam Revu interface, because there are a lot of options that are hidden in behind there that could really help. You saw earlier right-clicking and converting to ARC, and you right-clicking to add to tool chests. So explore and take some chances and improve your Bluebeam Revu skills. So thanks again, Ash and Harry, as presenters, also our back-end crew that's been managing behind the scenes, and thank you, our customers and end users, everyone, for attending today's webinar. Once you leave, you're going to receive a survey on the presentation. We'd appreciate it if you could provide your feedback, and then of course you'll get a follow-up email in the coming days with a link to the recording of this webinar. So on behalf of all of us at Bluebeam, thank you for joining today, and don't delay. Go try out some of these new takeoff and estimating tips you learned today. Take care, everyone, and have a great rest of your week.